2 days ago, my phone blinked a headline so juicy that I nearly tipped my cold brew onto my keyboard. The Fed just flipped the ISO20022 switch, effective today. Now, I muttered there's no way that they finally pulled the trigger, and I raced to confirm it, and sure enough, the Federal Reserve pressed go on July 14th. That's after 2 years of kind of pushbacks. And that kind of single keystroke just rewired the very rails that your paycheck, mortgage, and even your cheese pull pizza order kind of glides across. Now, you might be thinking, that's cool tech buzz, Nick, but why should I care while juggling bills and chasing kids around the sofa? And well, it's because the moment that FedWire went ISO20022, it quietly opened the door for Ripple, XRP, and maybe even you, if you're bold enough to walk through it, that is. So why don't you grab a seat, my friend? I'm going to tell this kind of like, I guess, a travel diary through the guts of global payments. And by the end, you're going to know why that sleepy standard, could fatten your wallet faster than Friday happy hour. Okay, so picture the 1980s dial-up internet. Screeching, beeping, bonging, but for bank messages. Now that's basically FedWire pre-ISO. Banks spoke in clunky, truncated formats, like sending your grandma abbreviations that she doesn't understand. The THX number 4 B-Day gift, right? ISO 20022 fixes your grammar. Now it stuffs every transfer with extra data fields. Let's think emojis for money details. And this is so that regulators who's kind of paying whom and why, or at least can see whom and why in crisp HD. That's less fraud, that's fewer fat-fingered errors, and more speed. Banks, they dig it. Compliance officers, they even sleep better. And yet, switching formats is like retooling a jumbo jet mid-flight, right? March 2025 was supposed to be the day of reckoning, but the Fed blinked. Vendors, they just weren't ready. Smaller banks needed upgrades, and so they yanked the cord, giving everyone 4 more months. Now, Ripple's engineers, though, well, we're already kind of chilling at the finish line. Now, way back in 2020, they joined the ISO working group. This is the first blockchain kid invited to the kind of stoogey banker barbecue, if you will, while others were, pounding coffee to finish homework. RippleNet baked ISO support into every connection node. So I remember interviewing a mid-tier bank CTO last fall, and he whispered to me, right, we'd love a one-stop bridge that just works with a few new fields, something that slurps dollars offshore, and splits pesos offshore without any of the drama. And I kind of half joked, ever peeked at RippleNet, and his eyes kind of darted the way that a teens kind of glance, before admitting that they watch cat videos, right? Now, Ripple already had the kind of feature list checked, signed, and for the hell of it, laminated. You can fast forward to now, right? 80+% of global transfers will ride ISO by New Year's Eve. American banks can't show up fashionably late anymore, and the Fed just locked the venue doors. So every regional credit union, Wall Street giant, and payment processor must speak XML-rich ISO or sit in the corner. Now Ripple shows up holding translator flashcards and XRP as on-demand liquidity. No pre-funding traps, no stranded capital screaming, use me. That's priceless when interest rates nibble your profit margins like termites on wood trim. Now, here's a quick pit stop. Have you joined our free educational Discord yet? The link is hiding in the description like a secret level in Mario. You can pop in, we can swap some charts, roast my puns, or even snag the latest macro cheat sheet the moment that they drop. Now, 1,000 heads are smarter than one, especially when markets spin faster than a DJ in Ibiza. All right, let's get back to the payment highway then. Right, let's think about cross-border wires today, right? Bank A wires euros to Bank B in Singapore, right? Pre-ISO, messaging misalign, right? Compliance ping bounce backs, and half a day evaporates. Now, ISO adds universal tags, like slapping both English and Mandarin subtitles on the very same film. Right? RippleNet slides between as an agile interpreter, while XRP steps in as a universal poker chip. Now, I can hand you dollars and out pops pesos. Nobody stockpiles of, or at least no more stockpiles of idle foreign cash. Now, who remembers 2022's liquidity crunch, right? Many small banks had cash trapped in nostros, parked funds, doing absolutely nothing but twiddling their thumbs. Now, XRP's on-demand liquidity is the escape hatch, and now, thanks to ISO20022 being mandatory, Ripple doesn't need to knock politely. Banks will hunt partners that already speak ISO, and Ripple just happens to run the loudest megaphone. And you know what's funny here? Is that years ago critics yelled, but XRP itself isn't ISO certified. Game over. But here is the twist. XRP, it doesn't have to be, right? The plumbing, that's the pipes that's called RippleNet, complies, right? XRP is just a high-speed water blasting on through it, right? And it's kind of like arguing that a Ferrari can't use a new highway because its tires don't attend the ribbon cutting, right? Tires, they don't need speeches, they just need the asphalt. Now, let's kind of spice things up with some real world stats, right? Each FedWire day moves about $4 trillion. Even if Ripple captures just a single basis point, let's say 0.01%, that's $400 million in daily volume zipping through XRP corridors. Not guaranteed, but plausible when banks chase cost saving like toddlers are chasing ice cream trucks. Better data, of course, is that fewer sentiment fails, right? It's instant liquidity and good luck to the rivals selling snail mail. Okay, so here's a halfway breather. And here's the legal kind of housekeeping that we all know and love. And this one, it might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, so that's the policy boxes all ticked off. Let's kind of stir the pot once again. Now, Ripple isn't only ISO ready, it's courting Uncle Sam directly. Earlier in the month, they filed for a US banking license and a FedMaster account tied to the RLUSD stablecoin. Now that's kind of like getting backstage passes to a Swifty concert of finance. Front row access to settlement rails most fintechs only dream about. So picture a future where, Kansas farmer pays a machinery supplier in Germany. The local community bank uses RippleNet. The supplier's bank does not, or in fact does too, right? ISO tags line up, right? XRP handles liquidity, RLUSD covers domestic settlements, and the whole gig closes within seconds. Now, the farmer thinks that's pretty neat, whilst kind of sipping lemonade, but behind the scenes, decades of payment friction has just vanished. Now, if we contrast that with the Swift's legacy route, well, multiple corresponding banks, fees dripping like leaky faucets, and arrival times quoted in business days, as if we still use fax invoices. Now, ISO 20022 aims to fix the syntax, right? But Ripple offers the syntax plus the rocket engine. Now, banks can pick between a horse cart or a Tesla that kind of plugs directly into brand new charging lanes. Now, if you're planning your own portfolio moves, consider the second order effect. More ISO adoption fuels demand for compliant messaging hubs. Now, Ripple owns first mover bragging rights here. Now, the more corridors that they light up, the more XRP circulates. Not because, hype bros shout to the moon, but because CFOs quietly select the most efficient route. Utility beats the memes every day. Now, a buddy of mine runs treasury at a Latin American export firm. Now, he confessed last week that if FedWire went ISO and my US bank starts supporting cross-border real-time settlement, then we're ditching the layers. The translation is that they want cheaper, faster, traceable transfers. Who provides the toolkit today? Well, Ripple's near the top of that list. And here's a hidden carrot: compliance data. ISO messaging includes clearer, know your customer details. Right? Banks sweating over regulation can rest easy when a platform spoon feeds every field required. Now, RippleNet does exactly that. Less manual form filling, fewer compliance fines, and CEOs, they just love anything that kind of saves and shaves the legal bills. Now, speaking of shaving costs, I fund these caffeine-fueled deep dives the same way that you stretch a dollar, through smart partners. Now, one of them is Kraken Pro. And so if you're buying or selling XRP, check out the Kraken Pro link down below. But here's a heads up, that is an affiliate link. So if you do sign up and trade through that link, Kraken will throw a few pennies my way. So every cent actually helps keep the lights bright and the microphone humming. There's no pressure, of course. Use it only if it makes sense for you. Okay, let's kind of thread everything together, right? The Fed just upgraded the tracks. Ripple already built the actual train. Now, XRP is the kind of ticket collector scanning barcodes at kind of blistering speed then. And US banks must ride soon or risk being stuck on the siding with rotary phones. Now, Ripple's early compliance, global partnerships, and new banking ambitions set them up like a chess grandmaster who played 10 moves ahead while rivals debated coffee flavors. Could something go wrong? Sure. Regulatory curveballs, tech glitches, or even a competitor invents, an even slicker protocol, right? Markets love plot twists after all, but right now, the momentum arrow points firmly at Ripple. Each day that passes post-ISO adoption, banks compare notes and realize who's production ready versus who's still kind of proofreading memos. And here is the kicker. If you don't, or at least I should say, you don't actually need to kind of bet the farmhouse, right? Staying informed is already actually a win. So hang out in that Discord, seriously, right? The link is waiting for you in the description, and swap the research with people who catch the fine print faster than Google alerts. Knowledge, of course, is compound interest, but for the brain. So, what's my personal kind of adventure takeaway then? Well, the Fed's ISO switch isn't a kind of tiny toggle. It's actually an international road sign that reads next gen payments ahead. Now, Ripple not only saw the sign years ago, they paved their lane, right? Loaded XRP in the truck and now offer rides to anyone stuck thumbling for a lift. Now, if history rhymes, well, early movers usually pocket the biggest slice. So, am I all in on XRP? No, I'm diversified and always questioning my thesis. But I'd feel kind of, I guess, sillier ignoring a kind of standards revolution than missing a meme coin moonshot, right? Standards outlive headlines. And so they define how money will talk and I should say right now, it is speaking ISO with a Ripple accent. So hit that subscribe button and I'll catch you in the next XRP story, and you don't want to miss that ride. Why don't you check out the video that's queued up on the screen right now.